I love diving into the world of indie games. In a world where AAA studios and publishers pump out game after game with only one thing on their mind, it's refreshing to see passionate developers craft some incredibly unique titles. Over the past couple of years, I've played a lot more indie games. Some were amazing cult classics that I finally got around to playing, like Undertale. Some more obscure ones that were still fun to play, like Pumpkin Jack. And some that I just questioned how they managed to get onto the PSN store in the first place. I'm looking at you, the Voices games. Don't worry, your time will come.
Brother, what's that?
I've played quite a lot, but there's always been one that has just stuck with me. A game that takes you on a cute and fun journey filled with so much charm. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Cat Quest. Cat Quest is a top-down, open-world RPG game developed by a Singaporean studio called the Gentle Bros. You take on the role of a Dragonblood, a powerful cat who is descended from a long line of dragon slayers. After a mysterious sorcerer called Dracoth kidnaps your sister and uses his orbital strike stratagem on you, it's up to you and your blue floaty sidekick Spiri to get her back. You'll be traversing a colourful open world filled with monsters to fight, magic spells to obtain, dungeons to explore, chests with new gear, an abundance of side quests to complete, and a lot of cat puns. Like, a lot. And you know what? For the rest of this review, we're going to be throwing some in effery now and again. Oh, and there's our first one. Let's see how long we can last. I would say that Cat Quest's main strength is that it keeps everything simple. It doesn't overwhelm you with too many things to remember, and instead keeps everything easy to grasp, while still offering variety. The best example I can give of this is the main combat loop. The combat boils down to three main actions: melee, dodge, and magic. Pressing square near an enemy will initiate a melee attack, and you can do it 3 times for a little combo. There are a total of 7 magical spells that you can find and purchase, and you can also upgrade each one to become more powerful. And then finally there's dodge. Do I really need to explain this one? All 3 of these combat mechanics each have their own pros and cons, but it's when you combine them together that it works almost perfectly. I found throughout my time with the game that each of the mechanics complement one another, and allows you to be strategic with your approach to combat. For example, some enemies will be weaker to magic attacks, so you obviously spam your fire or lightning spell to damage them. Well, guess what? Your mana meter is now fully depleted and you can't cast any more magic. The only way you can restore it is to get in close and use your melee attack, whilst also dodging before the enemy hits you. Do this a couple more times and your mana will be restored for you to finish them off.
Now that's a lot of damage!
Whilst it may seem a tad repetitive, it's very satisfying to accomplish, and makes you a lot more skilled at the combat. But that all changes when you unlock Cat Trap. This magic spell completely breaks the combat loop into 2, and can turn the game from fun and rewarding to an absolute walk in the park. With Cat Trap, you walk up to an enemy and plant some spikes down that causes damage over time. Well, what's so bad about this, you may be thinking? Well, it's easily exploitable. For example, okay, I can't do this anymore, I'm just going to stop with the cat puns. For example, if you put it in the right place and bait enemies to stay on them, the fight is over before it's even begun. Or even worse, you could combine your free spell and the cat trap, so enemies move much slower and can't escape. And these methods are even more broken if you upgrade the damn thing. It just becomes child's play. I like how the game does have these methods in order to push variety and strategic thinking, but when it's this broken, I might as well just pass it to my dog to play. But what about the open world? What's that like? Well, it's bright, colourful, and stuffed to the brim with things to do, whilst also playing a loud, heroic theme 24/7. Firstly, we have side quests. At each cat-filled town, there are these quest boards which have missions for you to complete. Some of these are one-offs, and some are a lot longer with their own storylines. I did find that they do occasionally get quite repetitive and a bit annoying after a while. I can't begin to tell you how many times I followed a trail to a cave that I had cleared 2 hours ago and got told to do it all over again in order to progress with the quest.
Yay!
But I think what I loved the most were the storylines. There were so many weird and funny characters I met in my playthrough. There were the meat-obsessed cats that tasked me with getting them more meat for them to gorge on. An obvious homage to Tomb Raider with this archaeologist called Kara Loft. I mean, it doesn't get more on the nose than that. A French brother and sister whose dialogue is extremely stereotypical but still hilarious.
Oui, oui, baguette.
And even the developers of the game. Yeah. They make you fight some chests, it gets weird. Then we've got dungeons filled with enemies for you to fight and chests to pillage. Each one has a different level, and depending on your own, this will determine the difficulty you'll be experiencing inside. They're fun and sometimes challenging, but I will admit there are a few that can become a bit frustrating, especially if you find enemies in narrow areas. Now, completing both side quests and dungeons gives you XP to level up your character. With each new level, your health, power, and magic increases, making you more and more powerful. Standard RPG stuff. Side note, I really didn't expect you to level up in this game so quickly. Within the first 15 minutes, I went from level 1 to 5 in the blink of an eye, and this was only by doing the main missions. The developers did state in a video diary that they wanted to give gamers rewards no matter how long they played for. So I guess they succeeded in that. Good job, guys. As well as XP, you can also get new weapons and armour by completing quests or finding them in chests. Each of these have their own pros and cons, and you can mix and match to better fit your playstyle. For example, a mage hat and robes will boost your magical power, but your melee attack is weaker and you also lose some health. Like the combat, this feature is simple and easy to understand, but it also houses one of the most frustratingly baffling choices in the entire game. You can't upgrade a specific item. Got a favourite piece of armour and want to increase its stats to make it more powerful?
Too bad.
You gotta test your luck and hope you get something good instead of the same thing for the 5th time. This is some EA surprise mechanic shit right here. Now, if you do get duplicates, yes, they do stack and it can increase the stats, but it's never for the one you actually want. All you gotta do is hope and pray that you get something good. Or you could head over to Kit Kat's shop and buy a gold chest for how much? Finally, we have the main quest. As I mentioned previously, the main story revolves around you and your sidekick Spiri tracking down an evil cat called Dracoth in order to rescue your sister. Along the way, you meet a plethora of other memorable characters, such as the aforementioned EA employee Kit Kat, King Leonardo, who speaks like your dad trying to get down with the kids, and the muscly governor of Port City, who is, such a dreamboat.
It's better not awaken anything in me.
As you progress through the story, you'll also be treated to some lore to dive into, which I found quite intriguing, and you'll also get to unlock some cool new abilities like water walking and flight. There is certainly a lot of stuff to like in here. But now it's time to be a nitpicky arsehole. The missions fall into the exact same trap as the side quests. Go talk to one of the main characters, fight some enemies, talk to NPCs, obtain an item, give item to main character, get reward, rinse repeat for about 3 hours. I can't remember a single mission where it had something unique or different from the core gameplay loop. So much so that when I looked back at my footage, I struggled to determine which one was a story mission and which was a side quest. They blended together a bit too well. The main villain Dracoth is also laughably poor. He never felt like a genuine threat. I mean, I beat him at the end of the game without even breaking a sweat. He always monologued whenever he was on screen, and was probably one of the most generic villains ever. See, even the game knows he's shit. Overall, the narrative is fine for what it is. It's a solid 6 out of 10. Even though Cat Quest has a few drawbacks like its repetitive main missions, main story, and questionable loot box mechanics, seriously, what the fuck was that all about? I think it's still a delightfully cute game. The main combat loop feels incredibly satisfying, the world is packed with things to do, and it's full of so much humour, colour and charm. And I think that last word is Cat Quest's biggest selling point. It's charm. There's something so charming about this game that you can't help but smile as you play it. It had me grinning like a puppy about to be adopted, that's for sure. Cat Quest gets a very nice recommend from me. I still really like this game and definitely do think it is worth picking up. And there couldn't be any better time to do so, as this and its sequel are both available for PS Plus subscribers right now. Talk about a coincidence, am I right? If you want to go on a great cat venture and become the furry best warrior in the world, then grab your sword, put on your best armour, and set off on a truly pawsome journey. Oh my god, I think I have a problem. Please help me. Oh god, can it? No, god, jeez.